awesome day out there. Sunshine came out and a ton of energy. A lot of fun getting out on the practice field again. 5 days in and it's been awesome. Just getting around our players. They've learned a ton. We've learned a ton. Learn how to compete at the level that we want to. How to bring the right amount of energy out to practice and the expectations. And guys are flying around. Competing really hard, but I think having a tremendous amount of fun too, and learn how to grow and build together as a football team. So with that, I'll open it up to some questions here.
Questions, we'll start with Vince Farrar, then we'll go to David Oven.
Josh, realized that playing the wide receiver position is more than just being fast, but who are some of the guys that you've been able to identify early on as being really speed guys and explosive guys that I'm sure you covered in this offense?
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to develop and grow depth out there. Tillman's done a fantastic job of just being really purposeful in his work habits on the practice field. He's playing faster as he's getting more comfortable day 1 to day 5. Bayless has done a tremendous job. He's a really strong competitor, brings a great amount of leadership to that wide receiver group every day in the meeting rooms, and then that's transitioned onto the practice field as well. Jimmy Callaway's having a good spring, a good start here. A guy that's learning how to play with the technique and what we're asking him to do, getting better every day, but has the ability to extend the field and really make some plays down the field. And I would never use the word satisfied or completely happy with everything that's going on at any position when you're 5 days into spring ball. But I like the purpose that those guys are practicing with. They're starting to gain trust in what we're doing and starting to play with a lot better technique, which will give them the ability to go win down the football field. They've created some big plays in the passing game.
Josh, how do you view kind of Dane Davis's role, and why is he a guy early on that we're seeing get a lot of reps with guys at the front of the offensive line group?
Yeah, it's just been rock solid since we've gotten here in the way that he competes, his attention to detail, and how he competes out on the practice field. Those guys get graded every day, and the rotation up front, practice 1 was based off of, how they graded out and everything that they were doing every day leading up to spring ball. Now you get graded every day in practice, and based on that kind of sets the rotation as far as whether you're playing with the 1s, 2s, or 3s for the day. These guys can compete really hard. I think, up front we have some flexibility with some of the guys that can play left or play right. They've had some experience doing that. The biggest thing to me is just our players learning how to play snap to the echo of the whistle. There's a lot of different schemes you can use, but at the end of the day, it's about your effort. And we use the word attack here inside of our program, and our kids are learning to do that. He's been really consistent in the way he plays from snap to whistle.
Brent Hubbs and Blake Tompmeyer.
Yeah, Coach, with the besides just the attitude and everything, what have you physically learned about your football team through 5 practices? What do you know about your team physically that you didn't know 5 practices ago?
Well, I'm going to start with not the physical side of it. I'm going to start with their attentiveness, their ability to be coached. They're willing to take that coaching and try to implement it into the game. Try not to make the same mistake twice. We called up practice today. They competed really hard, went into a 3rd and short situation down on the 3-yard line, get 2 downs to get the ball into the end zone, finish, compete. Nothing else matters. That's happened during the first 22, 23 periods of practice. It's all about how you finish at this point. And we're learning how to have a winning mentality, and that's effort, that's attitude, it's being a tough football team. There's a drill that we did in day 3. We call it the ball drill. That's really about putting your face on somebody, getting your hands in the right place, being able to run your feet on offense, defensively shed, make a play. Day 3, not anywhere near the level of meeting our standard or expectation. Day 5, we repeat the drill. A whole lot more energy, a whole lot more toughness. Our attitude was in a better spot. Got a whole lot better, and I think you got to gain in the inches every single day, and it starts with our guys' ability to be coachable, to have some of those winning attributes, the way they're going to communicate with each other. We're growing in that, learning how to shed some losing habits and hold on and gain some winning habits. Along those lines, to your point, though, the physicality, our guys are growing in that every day. Day one pads, not anywhere near where we need to be. Today, we get back out there in full pads, second time we've been in that. Our guys competed, and you heard pads popping at a whole different level than it was the first time we jumped into that.
Hey, Josh, I wanted to ask about recruiting. What's your pitch to 2022 recruits, 2022 prospects, and how do you build momentum in that class?
Yeah, it's about developing a relationship. It's about pouring into kids. There's no substitute for that. In some ways, we're a little bit behind just the timing of when we got hired, the nature of that, some of the questions that surrounded our program. Our coaches have been working on that relationship with those players. At the end of the day, this is one of the greatest traditions in college football, and we get to put a completely new age approach on it. And that's the way we interact with our players, the energy that we have inside of our building every day, and what we're going to be and who we're going to be out on the football field. It's going to be a place that guys are going to be able to compete at the highest level, have a great attitude. They're going to have fun inside of our building. I don't care if that's in the strength and conditioning area, the way we practice, and what we do. It's going to be fast. It's going to be fun. And most importantly, there's going to be real relationships that are formed. We're going to be real in who we are. And I think as recruits see that, they're going to find out this is a pretty special place to come play football, grow as a football player, but grow as a man even more importantly. And as we continue to go through this recruiting cycle, I think recruits are going to see that.
Jimmy Himes, then David Pascal.
Josh, Caden Salter had his case dismissed with prejudice. I wonder, has he been reinstated yet, or where does that stand?
Yeah, any of the guys that have had those issues here, no final word on any of that yet. We're going to stay with those kids. I told you in the beginning, support those kids through the process, and once we have a final decision on all those guys, we'll communicate that with you.
Do you hope you'll have a final decision before spring ends?
Yeah, for sure. We hope that that process will, be thorough, and we'll be able to work through it and get to the point where we're able to communicate with you where our university stands.
And one other thing, is James Robinson practicing?
He is not out there right now.
Okay.
Josh, we've spoken to both Velus and Cedric, and they said that this offense is a wide receiver's dream. What is it about that position that is dreamlike? And have you heard that ever since your UCF and Oklahoma days, just receivers and how much they enjoy being in this offense and why?
I think for us, the ability to play with tempo, for those guys to be put in a position we're going to try to find ways to isolate them, put them in a one-on-one position, and then give them the tools to go win. I think at the end of the day, that's what, as a wideout, you're looking for. The tempo we play, the number of snaps that we get, number of ball in hand opportunities that our skill players have. I think you put all of that together, plus the energy with which we play on game day, but even on the practice field, I think it is a really unique offense for skilled players and wide receivers to play in. It's something that they absolutely flourish in.
Austin Price and Eric Kane.
Coach David asked about Dane Davis. Is that a situation where are y'all trying to find the best five, or is that one of those things like where if it's best for Cade to be at guard, is that where you play him, or if you feel like you're trying to get your best five on the field, are you moving him out to tackle? I mean, how will you approach the offensive line? And then what about Quasi Garland? He's a guy like Dane Davis, a former walk-on who's continued to kind of rise up, the program with his ability. What do you like about him at linebacker?
We're just finished day 5 of spring ball, man. Our players are trying to figure out our schemes, right? They're trying to figure out how to play at the tempo that we want to play at on the offensive side of the ball, all the mechanics that come with that. defensively trying to get aligned, communicate, make sure all three levels are on the same page. And we're early in that journey of who we're going to be next fall, and we're in a race against ourselves to get there as fast as we possibly can to be as good as we can. Up front, I think we're trying to find out, who's going to play with great technique, who's going to have the toughness, that's going to strain, that's going to play, be able to communicate. At every position, to me, it's really about finding out who are the guys who are going to play at a championship level, and then it's the responsibility of coaches to put those guys in a position of success. That's true at the offensive line position. I think you're always going to want some flexibility, the ability to maneuver and rotate guys. Typically, you're going to need, on a given day, be able to play with 7 or 8. Sometimes you're able to play with just 5, but that's got to be a really mature 5. So who are the guys that are going to play at championship level? How do we put the pieces of the puzzle together to allow us to play at the highest level? So we're on that journey trying to find those things out.
Hey, Josh, we saw Jeremy Banks and Roman Harrison out there for the first time this week. Can you kind of give us a status update on those 2 players and kind of their availability throughout the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, those 2 guys are fighting their butt off to get back and be at 100%. Done a tremendous job just in the rehab process and have transitioned more into the strength and conditioning side of it, getting their bodies right. Continue to come back and they've done a great job in the meetings. Sat in on a couple of them with the linebackers. They're attentive, they care. They're pushing hard to get back and be ready to take a bunch of ownership and take a bunch of snaps at the linebacker position. Those guys are going to be allowed to do more and more as we go through spring ball. Don't think any of them will be in full contact situations.
A couple more here for Coach. Tim Owens, then Wes Rucker.
Hey, Josh, a lot of moving parts and different personalities when you put together a coaching staff. And a lot of these guys haven't coached together in the past. How well is this staff kind of meshing together at this point, working together for such a short time?
Yeah, some truth in that, what you're saying for sure. But I think there's actually more connectedness than people probably realize. You got a group of guys that came with me from Orlando and have great trust in each other and in the process and know the expectations and standard that I've set and how we're going to operate. You got a few guys that were not together on the defense side of the football, but there's a connected piece between those guys where they've worked with each other at different stops. And Coach Banks, tremendous leader, has a great vision of what he wants to do. I think he's building defensively, just the communication, the system that gives us some flexibility, but building it the right way, and has a tremendous amount of buy-in and trust from the guys that are in that defensive staff room with them. I think our players have fed off of the energy and chemistry from the staff as well, that everyone's in sync, communicating the same way, and their standards and expectations are clearly defined and are coaching in a positive way. Coach hard, hold our players' feet to the fire, hold them accountable. At the same time, we can go out and communicate in a way that's positive, that creates energy as well. And I think that's why the practice field has been the way that it has been.
Yeah, Josh, I'm guessing that when you look kind of throughout the years when you've been a coach at the numbers the quarterbacks have put up, I'm sure that you've got a system put in place for teaching them the way you want them to do things. How are these guys in that process of sort of learning both the system and how quickly y'all want to play and the decision making and all that? Are they do they get lost at times, or how's that going?
Lost, I would not say that they're lost. Are they perfect in their communication and decision making? No, don't expect them to be. They won't be perfect by the time we get to kick off next fall. You're never perfect in that journey. You can be a 12-year NFL Hall of Fame career guy, and you're still straining to get better in something every single day. Our guys are competing really hard. I think they've been phenomenal in the meeting room. Their attentiveness to the details, I think, has, in the sense of urgency within that, has really increased over the last 2-3 practices. You coach some things before you get to the field. But once you get on the field, I think the understanding of the why those things are important become even more clear for them. Their urgency in that has been ticked up or gone up, I should say. I think they've been really good. You know, they've made a bunch of plays in the past game. Had a couple things that haven't gone their way either. They've tried to learn from it. They've been able to give great energy to the guys around them. They're learning how to have winning habits. That's on the field, that's in the meeting room, that's in what they're doing every single day. The group together has been really positive with each other, and while they're competing with each other too. And we got a long ways to go, but the group is pushing to get there, and they've been good to work with.
Last question, Kelly.
Hey, Coach Heupel, Kelly Ann Stitz with WATE. I have a hard-hitting one for you to end on. So, third grader wrote to Lane Kiffin. He's a lifelong Tennessee fan, and he said that he's in the fan transfer portal and asked Lane Kiffin why he should become an Ole Miss fan. But the door's still open for Tennessee because it's in their top 4. What would your message be to Landon to keep him a Tennessee fan?
One of the greatest traditions in college football, top 10 in the history of wins, top 10 in the history of NFL draft picks. The best is yet to come at Tennessee. Hop on, join along, have some fun. Let's go compete and go win.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it. You guys have a great day.